Okay, it being 6:30 and we don't have a secretary tonight?
I don't know, Bob. I know you would know about it, but she does not appear to be here. I have the motions and the meeting will be recorded. She can capture minutes later.
No, it can be taken from that. No, I just was wondering because, I would normally have thought that Bernadette would have been on by now, that's all. Because she normally gets on before I do. In any event, I will call the meeting to order. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. I do have a flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America, and to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Folks, in the next order of business will be the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving this consent agenda signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, stands voted unanimously. Next order of business will then be discussion on action with regard to the director's report. Is there a motion to approve same?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Are there any questions for the director, gentlemen? Patrick and Joel, are you deep in thought?
I'm all set.
Yeah, I'm all set as well.
If I,
You're all set as well?
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
You certainly may.
yeah, quickly, I know Kathy sent out the email late in the day. The errors that I had made were when I was bringing data out of the water and sewer general manager's report into mine. I don't know what I did, but both Kathy and Neil and I all caught it around the same time this afternoon. And Neil provided a quick red line. And I also then double checked. We found a glitch or two in electric, typical sort of cut and paste error. But I don't know what I was smoking the day I worked on the water sewer report and folded it into mine, but it was dreadful. And I appreciate their efforts. So that's the errors that were made. They were all mine and they were errors of commission. So
Cut and paste can be fun sometimes.
well,
No, I noticed that, and we did get the corrections later this afternoon, as you noted. So, and I have no questions myself with regard to it. So, with that in mind, then, all those in favor of approving the director's report as submitted herein signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Stands voted unanimously. Next order of business then would be, we'll go directly to discussion of the water pollution control facility. Neil, you're on. We did receive your email earlier today, so.
Okay, thank you. So we will just walk through the buildings under construction as we typically do. We will start with the secondary settling tanks. Construction of secondary settling tanks number 5 and number 6 is on pause while the contractor, AECom, and the town continue to evaluate the groundwater conditions as well as the additional concrete that was poured on the western wall of secondary settling tank number 4 at the influent pipe gallery. So we continue to work on that. Many discussions, emails, and schematics and ideas going back and forth. We do not have resolution at this time on either one. Moving over to the secondary pump station, the concrete for the grade level deck or the floor has been poured. At this time, all 15 concrete columns between the grade level deck and the roof have also been formed and poured. Last month, we only had 3 of the 15. So we added the last 12 in the prior 4 weeks. Shoring for the roof deck has been installed, and the contractor is currently installing the reinforcing steel for the roof decks. So similar to the tertiary phosphorus building, the secondary pump station has a cast-in-place roof as well, because a metal roof would basically deteriorate over time due to the hostile environment that it will be operating in. And the contractor is in the process of installing the slide gates at the lower level of the secondary pump station, and there are a total quantity of 8, and at this time about 4 have been fully installed. Moving over then to the tertiary phosphorus building, installation of the 42-inch effluent pipe is complete. The slide gates for the active flow treatment system have been installed. Last month, we were in the process of installing the active flow slide gates, so those have been completed. And slide gates for the effluent trough have been installed and are complete as well. The entire floor fill on the lower level have been poured, along with the concrete pads that will house the pumps and other equipment. So we put them about 3 or 4 inches off the floor, and they rest on concrete pads. So installation of the concrete masonry unit walls for the south and the east walls is complete. And currently the mason is installing the brickwork along these 2 walls. And then installation of the membrane roof has recently begun as well. Following our flow path, moving over to the UV disinfection post-aeration building, the electricians are currently installing conduit and wiring for both the ultraviolet disinfection as well as the post-aeration portion of this building. The emergency generator building, the fuel piping just has been completed. So we do have a 10,000-gallon fuel tank and then our new generator. So that piping is complete, and then electrical work continues inside that building. And then last, moving on to the personnel electric building, installation of the cable trays is complete, and the electricians continue to install conduit and wiring in that space as well. And just to look at the financials, so there's been no change actually since January 15, 2021. So the contract sum to date remains at $45,612,869.36. And the construction schedule to date is still February 10, 2022. And then there was a quick question from Joel this afternoon regarding the change orders. And so the change orders, the 105,869.36 is net change orders to date. So we do continue to do value engineering between C.H. Nickerson, the town, and AECom. And to date, a little more than $159,000 worth of credit has been applied to the project. And some of the larger cost items to date, we have had about $37,600 in what I would term as site conditions. So these were the pump station that was left in place at secondary settling tank number 5 and 6. So that had to be removed. There was some rubble that was disposed of in the area of the UV post-aeration building from the last construction project as well. So that had to be removed. Some construction phasing and logistical items. So I think on one of our tours, I pointed out the stormwater manhole that was in conflict with the sheeting for the anaerobic basin. And then when we got into some of the phasing, specifically because of the tight schedule in Wallingford, because of when we bid it, awarded it, and then when we have to be done, we needed to provide temporary electrical power to both the anoxic tank and the rotating biological contactors so that they could install the piping between the new intermediate pump station and the anoxic tank. So we had to bring in some temporary piping there. And I think we've discussed this before, state permit requirements. You know, we did pick up we did go with a more robust UV system. Originally, we had a 10 lamp system. We went with a 12 lamp system because we just don't know where those aluminum limits are going to go in the next 20 to 25 years. And so this was, in addition to buying more robust UV, we actually also had to adjust the UV channels at this time. So this was a cost, this was a good use of funds right now, because if we had to widen the channels, if we had to widen once they were in place, much more costly versus to widen them on the drawing board. So we picked that up. There is an American iron and steel requirement for Clean Water Fund. And so we had to buy some specialty, what's called strainer baskets. So basically a big industrial colander. And so to date, that's about $77,000. So we do have net change orders of a little more than 105,869. So we do continue to value engineer. We do find some site conditions and some phasing. We have a very tight schedule, and this is really the third round of construction on this site. So we're bound to find, quite frankly, some archaeological items as well.
As long as we don't have to call on the state archaeologist for it. Anyway. Joel, that take care of what you were asking?
Yes, thank you, Neil.
Okay. Patrick, do you have anything that you'd like to put forth?
Yes, I do. And I didn't know that there was actually a question posed, so I apologize. My question, first of all, as is always the case, Neil, with you and your staff and Rick, we truly appreciate the just-in-time information that's provided to us, including the pictures from last week, where you disclosed to us the issues regarding the secondary settling tanks. And again, appreciate the update and the pictures, put things in perspective. And my question, understanding that this is the third go around, just help us understand what you mean by way of pause, and what kind of impact is that going to have on our short time frames that you mentioned, and do you have any estimate in terms of next steps there?
So right now we have both Nickerson, CH Nickerson, the general contractor, as well as a geotechnical engineer from AECOM taking a look at the groundwater issue. So I think for that issue, the first choice is the first point of action is to come up with a plan of action, and then we will take a look at both schedule impact as well as any cost implications. The groundwater, back of the napkin, we're not too concerned about the schedule. We think that is amenable. The concrete, we are taking a closer look at. Secondary settling tank 5 is planned to be constructed on the outside, directly adjacent, and integrate the outside wall of secondary settling tank 4. So that additional concrete that was poured at the time needs to be removed. It has been poured monolithically. So there was not two separate pours. They just extended the wall against the sheet piling. It was put in about 1987. We expect that it was 4,000 pound PSI, or strength of concrete at the time. We now presume it's around 6,000 PSI. So very hard concrete that we now have to remove. And this affects the mechanical and the electrical, the certain processes. So that has to come out. I think that's a bigger schedule concern. And at this point, we just don't have that impact yet. I think we would have to our plan is to come up with a solution and then work with CH Nickerson as to how this can be constructed and where it will go in the schedule. I just don't have that answer right now.
So no timing. You have no idea. So through Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding from a conversation that we had earlier that we are going to have an April meeting first Monday in April meeting, and would like to just specifically talk about this issue at that meeting, just a status update.
And by that point in time, Patrick, we very well may have some numbers to, to work with at that point too. I would tend to think that is.
I do. At that point, I think we would have a plan forward. I don't know if we would have a defined schedule update. Nickerson would not be required for the contract to update the schedule until mid-April. So we would have some back of the napkin calculations, but we wouldn't have a critical path update.
Yeah, and if it happens that we have no update, that's fine too. I just want to make sure that this one we stay on top of, information-wise.
Really.
Thank you. No other questions.
Okay. Very good. Other than that, we will see you on the 25th for our quarterly tour, I believe. So
Correct.
if there are no other questions, gentlemen, we will move on. Moving on to, that would be item number 6. Discussion and action approval of the Water Division budget for 21-22. A motion to approve, same.
Mr. Chairman, before I will be prepared ultimately to make a motion, but just by way of background, we had a workshop on the 15th of January in the town hall to discuss all of the budgets. I did have an opportunity to review Mr. Hendershot's March 10th, 2021 memorandum regarding the budgets, and I appreciate the update or the fact that there really were no changes from then. But I wasn't sure if your intent, Mr. Chair, was to go through at a high level the issues that we just the budget numbers and sort of the high level discussions that were held, and there were some deep conversations in addition to high level conversations. But if our goal was to do that as well this evening.
If you would like to, we can do so. I have no problem. I have no problem in having the director and the general managers go ahead and discuss some of that whatsoever.
Mr. Chairman, if it would be possible, I would request that. A couple reasons. One, it was a snowy day, that 15th of February. That could have been prohibited people from attending. It was not a go-to meeting, so there wasn't an ability for folks to listen in. So if there's an opportunity to do that, I would appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Rick, if you would, in that case, if you would just go over what you have provided for us to begin with, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask at that point then for a motion with regard to water. We'll direct that then to Neil and Brian with anything from there. Then we'll go to sewer the same way, and then on to electric, if that is amenable to both Mr. Burney and Mr. Reinbold.
I could take a stab at that, Mr. Chairman. I can sort of paraphrase my memo. I
Okay.
haven't prepared anything in that regard, but I don't mind doing that. First, I will start with that there's no significant changes to any of the 3 budgets since that meeting. Perhaps a little bit of fine tuning / housekeeping. One item I would note that we just learned of today is that in a memo dated yesterday that arrived today, Human Resources had let us know the specific health insurance rates. And when I called to ask them about these, because there was no explanation with them, just here they are, I was told that they represent amounts that are lower than the percentage increase that Human Resources told us in essence to budget for earlier. So the health insurance costs that are woven through all of the various labor accounts through all 3 divisions are slightly overstated in this budget. So I say that just to provide the commission with all the facts. and to note that I'm comfortable then with the budgets because they contain more than sufficient monies to address that cost issue. Having said all that, when walking through my memo on the water division, we note that the 21-22 budget calls for an appropriation from cash of just over $480,000. This is lower than the appropriation from cash in the previous year of $795,000. There are no wage increases included in the water budget or any of the budgets because none of the subject contracts have changed or are settled from the previous budget. And so absent knowledge of wage and salary changes, we do not budget for them, except for any known step or merit increases for individual employees. There are no changes to the water rates proposed in the 21-22 budget. Personnel-wise, there is a net decrease of 0.6 employees charged, if you will, to the water division when compared to 2021. This reflects the elimination of one part-time position. The operating budget reflects a forecasted decrease in the sales volume of about 5.25% from the previous year. This forecast is based on the average of the division's most recent 10-year sales history, while accounting for the departure of the Bristol-Myers Squibb facility and its associated water sales. Total revenue for fiscal year 21-22 is forecasted at just over $9,000 less than fiscal year 2021. This reflects the change in volumetric sales described in the forecast. Operating expenses are about $118,000 or 1.5% less than the 2021 budget. The primary reason for this is there are more newer employees in the water division because of retirements, and newer employees are coming in at the beginning steps of the wages and salaries in their classifications. The capital
Mr.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, Mr. Chairman, is this where you wanted us need to make a motion to approve the water division budget, or did you want him to go through the entire summary?
What I would do is I would, why don't we do it? Why don't you make the motion to go ahead and approve water? Then we'll continue on with sewer, and then we'll go to electric, and then finally PUC.
Terrific. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 water budget.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, are there any questions that you have with regard to same?
Mr. Chairman, I posed multiple questions during our February 15th workshop. Those questions were answered either during that workshop or in subsequent communications, and I have no further questions tonight.
Okay. Joel, you're good?
I'm good. I appreciate the management holding the line on operational expenses and keeping rates as low as possible with very reliable water service. I think the budget is good.
Okay. Neil, is there anything in particular that you might want to point out with regard to the water budget?
So we just do have a couple high-level talking points. I think Rick highlighted a couple of them. No wage or salary increases other than step or merit increases. There's no change in the consumption rate nor the base service fee for water. Our wages are lower because we do have new staff. A couple of the projects coming up we talked about is we are required, the water division is required by the state to do a leak detection survey every 5 years. That is a $26,000 operating expense. We do have a decrease in depreciation expenses because well number 2 and well number 3 are fully depreciated. That was a decrease of 109,694. We have a decrease in our investment income. Obviously, the investment rates are very low. So you're going to see that across the water division, the sewer division, and the electric division. For our capital projects, we do have what we call pipes on bridges. So we'll be replacing the water main on the Main Street Bridge and the Church Street Bridge, Route 150 and 68 in Yalesville. So we are budgeting that at $695,000. And in addition to that, funded in fiscal year 1920, but you will see construction, so I do want to bring it up, is we will be having a water main replacement project on Woodhouse as well as Norman Avenue. And as we talked about at the workshop, our meters are capitalized, and we have decreased our meter capital expenses because with the current COVID-19 pandemic, we don't think residents will be comfortable letting us into their house until January 2022. We get in earlier and we need more meters. I think that's something we can come back to the Public Utilities Commission, but we just really had to make our best guess and estimate as to where the pandemic was going to go. So those are some highlights.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, if there's nothing else then with regard to water, gentlemen, I will call for a vote on the water division budget for 2021-2022. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Okay,
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask who seconded the motion?
I did,
That would be
very
Joel.
quietly. I moved my lips for that one.
All right, thank you, Joel.
Okay.
I will tell you that I've got my computer in front of me. Bernadette is
Yes.
online. She is listening to this hearing.
She's been online for since for the last 23 minutes, I believe. Bernadette, how are you? The first couple motions, we can get that information for you very easily, so you can add that into your minutes for the meeting.
Thank you, guys.
And all you'll have to do on that is just go ahead and call Kathy, and and that'll get taken care of. All right. Next item of business then is the sewer division budget. Rick, if you want to give your overview, and then we'll go in the same manner in which we just did for water.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Just sort of walking through my memo of looking at the sewer division budget, the cash flow, it calls for an appropriation from cash of $925,000. Again, as I described in the water division, and Neil just pointed out in his high-level description, things that applied to all the divisions, that there are no wage increases or salary increases included in the sewer division budget for the same reasons involving the contracts. Regarding a change in rates, the rates are going to change. This has been previously approved by the PUC. The usage rate will increase from $5.64 per 100 cubic feet to $6.24 per 100 cubic feet for all customers. And the basic service fee will increase from $23.34 per quarter to $24.38 per quarter. This applies to approximately 97% of the sewer division's customers. Personnel, the budget reflects a net increase of 0.6 of a position over the 2021 budget, reflects the addition of one full-time maintenance repair technician due to the increased equipment demands that are associated with the wastewater treatment plant upgrades and the elimination of one part-time position. Moving on to the operating budget, the 21-22 revenue forecast reflects a decrease in usage volume of about 2 2/3% from the 2021 budget, based on the same forecast that was used to project water usage. As we all know, sewer billing units are based on a percentage of water units metered for each customer. Sales revenue in 2021 is forecasted to be $714,000, which is 10.6% higher than revenue in 2021. And operating expenses are expected to be $912,582, or 10.93% higher in 2021, or than in 2021. The primary contributor to this increase is depreciation on new plant infrastructure associated with the wastewater treatment plant upgrades. The capital budget is expected to be just over $2 million, or an increase of $836,000, or 67.3% over the 2021 budget. The primary reason for this increase is the I-91 pump station and force main project. Oh, that's it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 sewer division budget.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Neil, if you would, if there's any, whatever you would like to add to that, if you would, please.
Nothing really to add. Rick captured it. It is being driven by the upgrades project, the additional staff member, additional chemicals, electrical, and natural gas for the new buildings. We are projecting a slight decrease, approximately $20,000 in our nitrogen credits. And our big capital project is the I-91 pump station and force main. And regarding the adopted increases for both the consumption, or excuse me, for the usage as well as the base service fee, if you look at pages 7-10 through 7-12, starts on 7:10, and it goes to 7:13. You can see the projected median. This is for median usage, what a typical customer will see per the 4-year adopted rates. And so this was a question, I believe Mr. Reinbold brought it up at the February workshop. So when we did adopt the rates, or the PUC adopted the rates last year, Bill Phelan and I put together a spreadsheet, and you can see where we stand this current fiscal year as well as next fiscal year, and the 2 years beyond that, since it was a 4-year rate study. And it is for the median customer. I want to point out, it is not the average. We went with statistically, we went with the median. We thought that was a better capture of our customers. And so for each meter size, you can see the number of customers, their median water use, as well as then 75% of that for their sewer use, and then what the projected increase will be in both dollars as well as percentages. A lot of data. Feel free to email or call if you have any follow-up questions.
And just a bit of work to put it together, I suspect. Thank you, Brian and Neil, with regard to that. Gentlemen, do you have any additional questions of Neil by any chance?
I don't.
I just have it's not a question, but if Neil, if you could just, again, we went through the entire, the rate making process predated the pandemic, but we worked extensively through the pandemic, including having a public hearing in the town hall in August regarding the rates. Can you just walk, for the record, just walk through again, so at a very high level, the rate making process, which forms the basis of our 2021, 2022 budget and budget numbers?
So on a very high level, I mean, what is driving the rate in the future is debt service. And so the sewer rates are, there's two components. One is a usage rate, which is a cost per CCF or cost per 100 cubic feet. And then there's a base service fee. The base service fee captures internal expenses before we even treat a gallon of water, before we even treat a CCF of water. So when we did do the rate study, we really pegged it to specific line items in the budget as well as percentages of those line items. But what is driving the rates is the debt on the tertiary phosphorus upgrade. And remember, that's a 20-year, 2% simple interest loan, as well as additional operating expenses. When we built the rates, we knew we were going to have an additional staff member. We knew we were going to have additional consumables, as we call them, chemicals, electrical, natural gas. And so what we did was, right now we are using approximately $900,000 from retained earnings, and that was designed in the rate study to take cash from retained earnings. The sewer division was fortunate enough to have cash above minimum, and so we are paying that down as a way to a soft landing of the rate.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else, gentlemen? Hearing that, I will call for a vote on the sewer division's 21-22 budget. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's voted unanimously. Next order of business at 7 o'clock or slightly thereafter is the public question and answer period. Are there any questions from the public?
Hello, Bob. This is Freeman P. Quinn, aka Susan Heisinger, WPA TV. I was just looking at the budget, and I was trying to determine in all of them if there was a municipality rate breakout for all of the income, or is it mixed in with commercial in the budgets? In terms of income, there's a breakdown of about 4 items, and one says commercial business, and then there's the last item is other public. And I didn't know if the municipality costs for utilities is in the commercial business or if it's in the other public section.
Okay. With regard to the rates, we do have a municipal rate. We do have municipal rates with regard to the on the electric side, particularly with respect to the lighting. And Brian, that would be on the electric side, that would show
that'll be on page 8-2. The second to last block on page 8-2. That'll show you the breakout of the public street and highway lighting as well as public authority.
Right. And your public authority would be the school systems. It would be all of the municipal that we have.
That is correct. Yep.
Okay.
So that would include what is defined as rate 8. Does anyone have where I could find the clear documentation of what rate 8 refers to with respect to municipal? What
Rate,
document that would be in?
rate sheets, I believe, are available on the town website that would define who belongs in the rate, what qualifies you for it, as well as the costs associated with that rate.
I wasn't able to find them today, but it could just be my senior itis.
I believe they are. If not, we could certainly get them to you. Those are public documents. So.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I can confirm that our water and sewer user charges are posted on the Wallingford, Connecticut, US website.
And so the municipal rate is broken out as different from the other rates, and they're included, not just the public rates, but all of them are there.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Thank you. And the definition of municipal rate, for example, for electric, rate number 8, is the full definition also on the website?
Yeah, that's all part of the rate, what we call the rate sheet. That'll have at the top section, it'll have who falls in the class, and then down below it'll have the costs related to that rate.
Someone read the rate sheet description to me today orally, but I didn't know where it was being read from. And it appeared that it referred to any entity supported by the town. Does that include everything listed on the town website as supported by the town? There's a page of agencies. Would that include those nonprofits and so forth that are listed on the town and therefore considered supported by the town? Would anyone know, or is that a deep dive question?
It would really have to be the town itself. I mean, yeah, the schools, the police, fire, public works, but as far as a non-profit, I don't believe they would be eligible now.
I do believe the definition included supported by the town. So that's what I was trying to get a clarification on, if there was what that meant.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, you're entirely welcome. If there's nothing else, then I will close the public Q&A, and we will move on then to item number 8. That would be the electric division budget. Rick, if you'd be so kind, continue with your overview this time of the ED.
Yes, sir. I flipped pages and I've lost my memo. Here we go. I think I found it. Okay. Moving on the electric division and summarizing my my memorandum on all 3 budgets. The electric division budget calls for an appropriation from retained earnings or out of cash of just under $1.4 million versus the $435,000 that were called for in the 2021 budget to be taken from retained earnings. Again, as with the other divisions, there are no budgeted wage increases, only step and merit changes. The rates in the budget reflect those that were adopted by the PUC during the most recent electric division rate adjustment, which was in 2016. And the rates proposed for this budget have been in effect since July 1 of 19. Would note that the electric division is in the throes of a cost of service study and will likely be coming to the PUC with proposed rate revisions yet this fiscal year to go into effect in July, and therefore for this entire proposed fiscal year. But as we do not know what those rates will be, we have not budgeted for them. The operating budget calls for a decrease. Well, let me say it the way the memo says. In 21-22, operating expenses, when adjusted for purchase power costs, are forecasted to decrease 1.32% or $242,000 from the 2021 budget. Unadjusted operating expenses are forecasted to decrease 1.14%, or $788,000 lower than the 2021 budget. Net income is forecasted to be negative. It's at negative $694,000, a decrease of $1,067,000 from the 2021 budget. And that negative number is in keeping with the nearly $1.4 million from cash that I described at the beginning. The capital budget is budgeted at $4.26 million, a decrease of $130,000, or just under 3% from the 2021 budget. Those are the highlights of the electric division budget.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the 2021-2022 electric division budget.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Tony, is there anything you would like to add to what Rick put forth?
He once again, he covered, most of the critical information. Just, you just share that some of the larger projects on the capital side that make up the budget are, we are continuing to overhaul an additional transformer this year that's budgeted at $375,000. We continue to inspect and replace distribution transformers, which make up about $240,000 of that budget. We also are working with Eversource and our NPCC Directory 1 compliance projects, and doing transmission line relaying upgrades as necessary. We've budgeted $120,000 for that. And the East Street substation circuit breaker replacements are budgeted at $550,000. Those really make up the large expenditures, but keep us within pretty close to where we were with our budget last year.
And basically, normally we are pretty much what we budget for capital, normally speaking, is in the range of what our depreciation is, so that we are putting back into the system every year. And this applies,
Correct.
This always applies that we're putting back into it what has been depreciated out by age. In addition to occasionally doing additional projects that become necessary.
Right.
So, all right, gentlemen, any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all those are then in favor of the.
Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't want to step on Mr. Reinbold if he had any questions. I just, we had talked at the workshop about the reason for the net income being forecasted to be negative at 693. It took us a while for me to get there and understand it. And I just was wondering if Brian, if you wanted to just sort of summarize why that's a negative number, because it's certainly informative for me.
Sure. The real simple answer is if you look at the net income budgeted last year versus the net income budgeted this year, I believe it's about $1.06 million less. If you go up to the top of page 8-1 showing our revenues, you can see that at this time last year, when we were creating our fiscal year 21 budget, we knew we had those CMEC funds. We didn't quite know what we were going to do with them or how we were going to give them back yet. So that field is blank in the 2021 budget, and in the 2022 budget, it's just north of $1 million that we're giving back. So outside of that number being in this year's budget and being absent in last year's budget, they're looking very similar side by side.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Joel, you have anything, sir?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay. In that case, then, all those in favor of approving Mr. Bernie's motion to approve the elected division budget for 21-22, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, stands voted unanimously. Okay, next order of business is discussion and action approval of smart charge agreement. This is sort of a rerun of what was done back in December. At that point in time, we have the update. And by the way, Neil, if you'd like to leave, you certainly want to. If you want to stay around, you're most welcome also. But, so, other than that, Rick, if you want to start it off or go directly to the wall, I'm amenable to either way.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, there's an awful lot of noise. I'd ask everybody to mute their mics if they could. Okay, that seems to have done it. I guess we're here to answer questions. As you correctly stated, Mr. Chairman, we've been here before. Item 9 includes cover memos from Energy Conservation and Efficiency Specialist Szymanski and me, on this topic, where we try to, at a high level, note the concerns and questions that were raised earlier and describe the process by which the various legal counsels for Geotab and the town conversed and addressed them, and have modified the agreement from what we've brought last time. And so Mr. Szymanski and I believe that we've addressed the questions that were raised earlier, and that it is now ready for prime time, as we might say. So I'll just leave it at teeing up at that and see if anybody has any questions for Walter or I.
Okay. Patrick, Joel, either one of you have any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions. I think just as General Manager Hendershot has pointed out, we've addressed the legal issues, the budget cap, the source of the funding, the intent, system reliability, as well as the customer satisfaction, relevant to some of the trends for electric vehicle purchase and operation. How's this going to affect the system reliability? So I know we've looked at this several times, and it's been a long road, but I'm prepared to support this.
Patrick?
Yeah, first off, thank you for taking up the legal issues that were raised in the December meeting. It looks like they've all found their way into the contract, which makes me very happy. If I had seen prior to the disbursement of this package, the Smart Charge New England attachment, I didn't look at it as close as I looked at it today, although I do recall asking Walter a question in terms of, where do we go from here? How do we spread the word about this new program in order to get the requisite feedback that we're looking for and need? So I'm prepared to make a motion to approve this evening, but if I could just get an update as to where we go from here.
Yeah, go ahead, Walt.
My first initiative would be through a newsletter that's issued with the bills. I think that's probably the first direct contact with our customers, to make them aware that this is available to them, and that there'll be further information to perhaps refer back to our website to get information on how to sign up and so forth. But that's my initial thought on how for the outreach.
All right. And one comment I would make is, if there is, this, or one question I guess I have then, well, by approving this evening, it will be signed forthwith, probably next business day. How soon are we apt to be able to get this program going at that point then?
Well, that's something I can work on. I would just speak to our customer service supervisor to see when the next newsletter will go out. And that would be, and I'm not sure when that is going to be issued. I'd assume we have a summer edition going out sometime in the next couple of months. So I would prepare something, some information on how to move forward from there through that newsletter.
Well, that's
Okay, because the other thing is, we could put, I'm just tossing this out. I realize this would be additional cost, but we could put out something special specifically to this and include that. That's a thought that I just had. And that way, anybody, if you will, it won't be, the newsletter wouldn't be cluttered, if you will, cluttered up with other items, and but really more specific to this, with the idea of hopefully then more people perhaps would read it and be able to respond. I know we're only looking at this point, I believe we're looking for 25 people to join this for the next couple of years. But the more we get it out there, the sooner we get it out there, I think the better off we are, because we're going to be seeing, I'm convinced we're going to be seeing more and more of a demand for EV charging, as time goes on.
Mr. Chairman, are you suggesting putting something in a local newspaper? I'm not sure I understand.
No, we could do that. Or we could, what I was thinking specifically, we could also go ahead and put out a separate issue of the newsletter. I don't know whether that's specifically is what I was thinking of, so that it hits all of our customers. I have no problem certainly in a press release with regard to that. We do have Lauren Takoris from the Record is on this evening with us. So I mean, we could certainly do that also. And if anybody has any other ideas, I'm welcome to hear. I would welcome them this evening.
No, those are all good ideas, Mr. Chairman, and we might try some or all of them. But yes, that in general, getting the word out once the program is approved is the next step. And Fleet Karma is anxious to get started too, because you might imagine they've worked hard with us on this. They want to make the sales, and program marketing and sort of customer engagement is part of what they do. And I'm sure we'll get some assistance from them as well.
What kind of feedback would you expect if you limited it to the newsletter? And then a follow-up question is something that Mr. Beaumont said related to like the numbers. What happens if we get 100 people who are interested in participating?
I believe it's important to communicate that it is limited participation initially. And so we set customers' expectations up front. And that if we do get a overwhelming response, we probably need to revisit this, and it would be in the future if the response is that overwhelming.
Yeah, I agree. More data would be better than less, and that is something we'll look at if we easily surpass the 25 people we need minimum to be statistically relevant. And the more data we can collect and better understand customer behavior with these devices, the better.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion then to approve the contract with respect to this item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, all those in favor of Mr. Bernie's motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And
Aye.
Well, thank you very much for all the work you've done on this.
Yeah, thank you, Walter.
Now with your retirement.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciated. And we'll move on from here. We'll move on to the next step and get this program rolling. So, okay. Next order of business then is discussion and action resolution with regard to Henry Ivan. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any comments you'd like to make, Rick or Tony?
Yeah, I mean, you can see from the resolution here that, you know, he's been with the division for 49 years with the town.
That's longer than Tony's been alive.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, he was very well known by everybody in town. When I spoke to people when I, you know, in town when I started working here, you know, lots of people say, "Oh, do you know Hank Ivan? Do you know Henry Ivan?" You know, so he was kind of a fixture here, and he treated everybody here like his family. You know, so he will be sorely missed. He was good guy. He started the Hawaiian Shirt Fridays here. Always just good spirited. Even to this day, you know, we keep in touch with him, and you know, he's definitely going to be missed.
I view Hank as the sort of like the last link to the old days, back when this place hadn't even thought about the building that Tony and I are sitting in right now. That you know, when the business office was upstairs at what is now Jay Christian's, when that was a bank. There were offices on the second floor towards the back, and I think that's where parts of the accounting staff of the electric division were housed.
Yes, it was.
And so Hank knows all of those old stories and all those people and all of those events from way back when. And it's he's the last vestige of that, and if for no other reason, and just the person that he is, we're going to miss him, and do miss him. No,
His 59th year out of high school, out of Lyman Hall, is this year, class of 1962. And he's, you know, he's local boy, stayed local. Overall, you know, he's done a very good job for us for almost a half century. And I'm sure he will be missed by the customers as well as by the as the staff. He's, you know, he you know, your comment I think earlier, Tony, is, you know, he's a fixture that's been there. Well, that's a fact. But you know, he's a good guy. I wish him well, and you know, we'll move on from there. So, is there a now? So there is a motion. Is there anybody who would like to make additional comments? And if not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Stands voted unanimously. Okay, next order of business is then discussion or action on, with respect to a budget transfer on 370. Item number 11. Tony, if you would please, and then I'll ask for a motion.
Sure. This is a request for a budget transfer to account 370 in the amount of $110,000. 370 is our meter capital equipment account. Covers the capital expenditures incurred by the division to install new meters, material and labor. We're forecasting to spend more in that account than originally budgeted. And there's money in the operating expenses account 586. You know, that account is used for all operating expenses associated with meters, as far, you know, when it comes to testing, removal, and disconnects and reconnects. And as you can imagine, with the pandemic and the you know, kind of freezing our disconnect and reconnect, or disconnect policy, there was a lot less of that work going on. We had a time frame where we gave extensions on customers to pay their bills without penalty and not disconnect for non-payment. Lots of families and working from home and kids learning from home. So those dollars are available there to transfer from operating expenses to capital installations. And I know that that'll bring both of the accounts, kind of in line with where they should be, as far as amount spent by February of 21.
All right. Gentlemen, is there a motion to approve the transfer?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just Tony, I didn't fully appreciate what I didn't fully appreciate what the purpose of the budget transfer is. I know where the money's coming from and where it's going, but I didn't fully appreciate why.
We're doing more on the capital side, more, dealing with new meter installations than we originally anticipated and had budgeted.
Okay.
Okay.
And will this continue? I didn't tie this back to next year's budget. Did we budget sort of a comparable amount in next year's budget to the extent that this is going to continue on into the next year?
I'd have to double check that account.
I can add that 370 budget was one that we, in the fiscal 21 budget, the one that we're currently living in, we trimmed that very lean, just sort of trimmed it up to actuals. We've been using carry forward money and we trimmed it a little bit too lean, we realized, and that's part of why we're at where we're at now. So we did put a little bit more money in there for this upcoming fiscal year.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. All right. So with that in mind, we do have a motion on the floor, I believe. And since we do, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, stands voted unanimously. Okay, next order of business, discussion and action. This would be approval of the PUC budget for 21-22. Is there a motion to approve, Sam?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Comment I would make on that myself is that there really is not much of anything for a change on this. The current budget year, Rick, if you want to make any other additional comments with regard to that, you're welcome to, but it's basically the same as what it has done.
Correct. There's no proposed changes. Again, because there are no settled contracts, there's no wage or salary changes. We didn't add any commissioners. So there's no new staff. That was an attempt at humor. Maybe it's too late. And so no, there's no real changes here.
Okay. All right. Jonah, any comments, questions?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, in that case, I will call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the PUC budget for 21-22, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, stands voted unanimously. Moving on to correspondence and committee reports. Rick, do you have anything with regard to either of those?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just one small, well, not small nor trivial, but just one matter. Actually, something I want Tony to comment on, but we have soon it will be time for a workshop with the commission regarding electric rates for July 1 of 21 and beyond. And we're looking at what time frame, Tony? Help me out.
We're looking at the week ending for April 9th. If there's a day that works for the commission to have our first workshop to discuss draft rate. But I could send
So
out.
I guess what we're doing is using this meeting to verbally ask you gentlemen to consider your schedules and let us know if there's any fatally bad days for you personally through the first full week in April, where you would not want to or cannot support a workshop for presentation from the consultant and discussion of where electric rates might be going, and or if there's a day or days that are particularly attractive to you, and then we can try to accommodate.
Okay. So we're talking the 5th through the 9th is what we're looking at. We do have a regular meeting on the 6th. This would be outside the regular meeting.
Yeah, I think so, Mr. Chairman. I think that's the best way
I
to
think
handle
that
it.
would be appropriate.
Mr. Chairman, or Rick, what is the earliest we could have that workshop be besides that week or after? I think I'm going to be out of town that week.
Before that?
I'm looking at Tony.
Yeah, let me, I don't know.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All
right. Just let us know if
we think we
Yeah,
can
great.
be ready late the week before. We'll try for that. If not, we'll aim for early the week after.
Okay, the week after, keep in mind, the week on the 12th, we have a public hearing on the budgets that we'll be attending.
And I think we have one on the 15th.
And on the 15th, we have the town council budget workshop, which will cover all 4 of our budgets.
Yeah.
Just FYI, not that everybody has to go to them, but I mean, we can do the 13th, we can do the 14th if need be.
Well, then
let's
Toss those out as a thought, that's all.
Okay.
all right, then I think we'll aim for if we can be ready by, say, in 2 weeks. And we'll be back in time.
So that would be beginning the 29th of March through April 2nd would be what we'd be looking at that point.
Yeah.
All right. See what that looks like and then get back to us accordingly, if you would, please. All right. One comment I would like to make, Patrick, congratulations on being confirmed by the town council for another 3 years. It doesn't seem possible that half a dozen years has gone by already there.
You are not kidding. Thank you.
We will have, one of the things that will be on our agenda for the April 6th meeting will be the annual organizational meeting. But I did want to, in as much as I just got the letter from the mayor today announcing that, I wanted to make the comment with regard to that. Happy to have you on board again for another 3 years. So, all right. Is there anything else that anybody feels they need to bring up? Oh, one thing I have. One thing Patrick and I were talking earlier today, just on a couple of things, and he mentioned in passing the idea of when would we want to start meeting in person again. And I'll toss that out to you, Rick, as far as what your thoughts are on that. I know part of that is will be dependent upon what Steve Civitelli, the Director of Health, has to say with regard to that. But
I was thinking was that we should check with the health department and get their guidance.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm figuring. But I mean, with things beginning to loosen up somewhat throughout the state, that's one reason it gets brought up. Plus, I think overall, it is, the meetings can tend to be more effective if they're in person. This works, but in any event, all right. Yeah, if you contact Steve, if you would, and see what he has to say with regard to that. Then
I was looking at my calendar. Mr. Chairman, and I noted that the last time that this commission met at John Street, 100 John Street, was a year ago tonight, or the second Tuesday of March.
Okay.
March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. I remember the date vividly. We were there, and I don't think we met again. We haven't met since then at John Street.
As far as a regular PUC meeting, this is true. We've had a couple workshops, we had a public hearing. Yes, you're right, you're absolutely right. All right, if there's nothing else to be brought before this body, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
We stand adjourned at 19:45. Thank you, one and all. Bernadette, if there's anything you need with regard to the first 4 minutes of the meeting, get in touch with Kathy if you would, please, ma'am.
I will. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Okay, yeah, Bernadette, I've been getting all the motions, so you'll be able to get a full set from Kathy.
Okay, great. I'll check in with her.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And good night.